Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, Wings of Awakening, by Tanya 1st. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the small examination room, where a young Izuku Midoriya sat on the edge of the patient bed. His legs dangled, not quite reaching the floor, as he fidgeted with his hands, his eyes filled with anticipation. Izuku Midoriya sat beside him, her hands nervously gripping her purse, a hopeful smile on her face. The doctor, a man with a serious demeanor and a clipboard in hand, cleared his throat, breaking the silence that had settled like a heavy weight in the room. He adjusted his glasses and looked down at Izuku before turning his gaze to Izuku. "Mrs. Midoriya," he began, "we've completed all the tests, and we did find a quirk factor in Izuku." Izuku's eyes lit up, and he leaned forward, almost falling off the bed in his eagerness. "I have a quirk." "Really?" "Yes, you do," the doctor said, but his tone wasn't as enthusiastic as Izuku's. "However, it appears to be dormant. Based on our analysis, the quirk factor is present but underdeveloped. It could take several years to fully awaken, if it does at all." The room seemed to grow quieter, the words sinking in. Inko's hopeful smile wavered slightly, her eyes darting to Izuku, who was now staring at the doctor with a mix of confusion and determination. "So I just have to wait, right?" Izuku asked, his voice trembling slightly but filled with a stubborn kind of hope. "My quirk will come one day, right?" The doctor nodded slowly. "That's correct. There may be signs of its development over time, aches in certain areas, sensations that seem out of place. But it will require patience. There's no telling exactly when it will appear or what form it will take." Inko put a gentle hand on Izuku's shoulder, squeezing it reassuringly. "Izuku, did you hear that? You have a quirk. It might take some time, but it's there." Izuku nodded, swallowing hard, his mind already racing. He thought of all the times he had dreamed of being a hero, standing alongside All Might, the #1 hero in Japan, and saving people with a smile on his face. He felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, his dreams weren't as impossible as he'd feared. As the years passed, the knowledge of his dormant quirk became a double-edged sword for Izuku. Every day, he woke up wondering if today would be the day his quirk would finally show itself. He kept journals filled with theories and observations, each one meticulously detailing any strange sensation he experienced. But school was a constant reminder of his limitations. Unlike his classmates, who proudly displayed their abilities, Izuku felt left behind. He remembered the days when he and Kaken were friends, playing together and dreaming of becoming heroes. But as their quirks developed, their paths diverged. Kaken's confidence grew, and he began to view Izuku with disdain for not having a quirk to match his own burgeoning powers. "Why don't you just try to be more like me?" Kaken would taunt, his tone sharp and dismissive. "You could never be a hero without a real quirk, Deku." Those words cut deep, leaving Izuku to grapple with a painful truth: he was nothing without a quirk. Determined to prove himself, he experimented with everything he could think of. He practiced breathing fire like his father, his cheeks puffing and his eyes watering as he failed time and time again. He tried running as fast as he could, sprinting through the neighborhood in a desperate bid to match Kaken's speed, only to end up gasping for breath before collapsing in a heap. He even attempted to punch as hard as All Might, his fists striking trees and dummies, only to find himself sore and bruised with no signs of super strength to speak of. Each failure weighed heavily on him, a reminder of the gap between himself and his peers. The spark of excitement he once felt for heroism dimmed as the pressure to succeed grew. In quiet moments, when the house was still, Izuku would close his eyes and imagine it a quirk that would finally let him stand tall beside Kaken, a chance to reclaim their friendship. But all he could do was dream. Each night, he envisioned having his quirk fighting bad guys and saving people like All Might. Yet, in the morning light, he was met only with the dull ache between his shoulder blades, a phantom sensation that left him frustrated and longing. Inko never let his hope waver, always there to remind him that just because his quirk was slow to come didn't mean it wasn't strong. She'd smile and say, "The strongest things take time, Izuku. Like heroes. And you're going to be the best one." But as the years wore on, the gap between him and Kaken widened, and the laughter of their childhood faded into the distance. It's been 10 years since his diagnosis. As the years dragged on, the soreness in Izuku's back became an almost constant companion. At first, he thought it was just growing pains or the result of his constant attempts to push his limits, but it lingered longer than he expected. It mostly concentrated around his shoulder blades, as if something inside him was struggling to break free. Each night, he tossed and turned, plagued by vivid dreams that left him gasping for breath. In those dreams, he soared through the sky, wings unfurling behind him, but he always woke up before he could truly fly, leaving him exhausted and frustrated. The thrill of freedom quickly faded into the stark reality of his empty bedroom. School was a mix of excitement and dread. With high school applications looming, he often found himself daydreaming about UA, and the possibility of finally being recognized as a hero. But as he sat in class, the whispers from his classmates about their own quirks and aspirations only served to deepen his anxiety. Would he ever be good enough? One day, an announcement from the teachers echoed through the classroom, capturing everyone's attention. "Since you're all third years, it's time to start thinking seriously about your future," the teacher said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "I'll pass out handouts for your future plans now, but you're all pretty much planning to go into the hero course, right?" The class erupted into cheers, with students proudly showing off their quirks. Izuku felt a surge of hope. "You will be my chance," he thought, clenching his fists tightly. He could already picture himself walking through those gates, training to become a true hero. His daydream was abruptly interrupted when the teacher casually mentioned both Katsuki's and his own name as students aiming to apply to UA. The whole class burst into laughter, mocking Izuku for trying to get into UA without a quirk. He felt the sting of their words, and he could sense Katsuki's glare burning into him from across the room. After school, as he was packing up his things, he felt a presence looming over him. Katsuki Bakugo stood there, a smirk plastered on his face. "So, you're really gonna apply to UA? Didn't I tell you not to dream about going to UA?" he sneered, reaching out and snatching the folder containing Izuku's analysis of hero number. Izuku's heart raced, panic flooding through him as Katsuki flipped through the pages, laughter bubbling up from his throat. "What's this? Your little stalker notes. Like that's gonna change anything," he taunted, throwing the papers back at Izuku, who felt a wave of humiliation wash over him. "Kaken, please, I just want to be a hero," Izuku tried to explain, but the words caught in his throat. Katsuki's expression hardened, the mocking light in his eyes turning cold. "You think you can just waltz into UA, like you belong there? You're nothing without a quirk." "Oh, I know a way you can get a quirk. Why don't you take a swan dive off the roof and hope to be born with a quirk in your next life?" Izuku's heart sank as the words pierced through him, leaving him breathless. He felt cornered, trapped in a reality where his dreams seemed impossibly far away. The laughter of their classmates echoed in his mind as he tried to gather his thoughts, but Katsuki's scornful gaze pinned him down. Stumbling out of the school building, he tried to shake off the confrontation, but the air was thick with anxiety. As he walked home, the soreness in his back felt worse than ever, a dull ache that spread down his spine. Each step was a reminder of his inadequacy, a haunting echo of his dreams slipping further out of reach. Lost in thought, Izuku passed by a dimly lit alleyway when suddenly, the ground trembled beneath him. A figure emerged from the sewer, its gooey form lunging toward him with menacing speed. The sludge villain aimed straight for him, its tendrils reaching out like grasping hands. Izuku barely had time to react as the sludge enveloped him, the cold, slimy sensation wrapping around his body. Panic surged through him as he felt the villain trying to take over his mind, the weight of despair crashing down like a tidal wave. "Sorry, kid, I will just borrow your body for a while." "I did not know he was in town," the villain taunted, its voice dripping with malice. Izuku struggled to breathe, clawing at the sludge entering his mouth, but it was futile. Darkness crept into his vision as his body fought against the suffocating grip. The last thing he remembered before everything went black was the feeling of his lungs burning, desperately trying to take in air. Just as he was slipping into unconsciousness, the sewer lid burst open with a tremendous crash. A massive figure emerged with incredible speed, striking the sludge and knocking it off him. The last thing Izuku felt was the cool air rushing against his skin before everything faded into darkness. When Izuku came to, he felt a strange sensation, like someone was slapping his cheek. "Kid, wake up." His eyes fluttered open, and as his vision cleared, he found himself staring up at All Might, the symbol of peace. Relief washed over him, mixed with lingering panic. "All Might," he croaked, his voice barely above a whisper. All Might's broad smile softened into one of concern. "You did well to fight back against that sludge villain. I'm sorry I was late to arrive." Izuku blinked, still processing the encounter. Where's the villain?" he asked, glancing around frantically. All Might gestured to 2 empty soda bottles in his hands, each filled with the remnants of the sludge. "I've got him right here," he said with a hint of pride, placing the bottles securely in his pockets. Feeling a surge of excitement, Izuku scrambled for his backpack, rummaging through it to find his notebook. "I need you to sign my notebook." As he turned the pages of his hero analysis number 13, he froze, noticing that All Might had already signed it. His name sprawled across 2 pages, a sight that made Izuku's heart race with awe. "Wow, you already did it. Thank you, All Might." Izuku exclaimed, his spirits lifting. "I will keep this as a family heirloom." All Might chuckled, preparing to jump off the rooftop. "I've got to go now, kid. Keep working hard." "Wait. All Might, before you go." Izuku shouted, adrenaline pumping through his veins as he ran toward All Might. In a split second, as All Might launched himself into the sky, Izuku grabbed onto his leg, holding on tightly. "Let go, kid. I know you're a fan, but this is going too far." All Might called down, his tone a mix of amusement and concern. "If I let go, I'll fall to my death." Izuku replied, panic lacing his voice. With a sigh of resignation, All Might decided to land on the nearest rooftop, the wind whipping around them as they touched down. Okay. Just be careful next time," he said, looking down at Izuku with an amused yet exasperated expression. Izuku's heart raced, exhilaration coursing through him as he stood beside his idol on the rooftop, the reality of the moment sinking in. As All Might landed on the rooftop, he took a moment to gather himself before starting to walk toward the nearest exit. "See you later, kid," he called over his shoulder. Izuku watched the retreating figure of his idol, a wave of determination washing over him. This was his only chance to ask the question that had been weighing heavily on his mind. "All Might." "Wait," he shouted, his voice echoing against the concrete. All Might paused and turned slightly, curiosity evident in his stance. "What is it? Can someone with a dormant quirk be a hero?" "I always wanted to be a hero, to help others with a smile like you, even when my quirk shows no sign of emerging," Izuku blurted out, his heart pounding in his chest. All Might's expression shifted, a serious look crossing his features. "No," he replied firmly. "Hero work is a dangerous field where you can get hurt easily if you don't have a quirk to defend yourself." Izuku's heart sank at the response, but All Might continued, "It's good to have dreams, but make sure they are realistic. You can be a doctor or a police officer if you want to help people." With that, All Might turned and walked away, leaving Izuku standing there, a storm of emotions swirling within him. Realistic dreams. The words echoed in his mind, mingling with his hopes and aspirations. Izuku gazed at the horizon, feeling the weight of All Might's words pressing down on him. Can I still be a hero, even without a quirk? Izuku stood on the rooftop, the cool breeze brushing against his skin as he stared out at the sprawling city below. His heart felt heavy, weighed down by the crushing reality of his dreams slipping further away. Tears glistened in his eyes as he thought of All Might's words, the hope he had carried now dimmed to a flicker. Katsuki's voice echoed in his mind, each word a stab to his heart. Why don't you take a swan dive off the roof and hope to be born with a quirk in your next life? The cruel taunt lingered, drowning out the distant sounds of laughter and life below. Would anyone really care if he was gone? As he walked closer to the edge, the world around him blurred. Images of classmates and friends flickered through his mind, but they were overshadowed by the gnawing sense of loneliness that had become all too familiar. Izuku felt a pang of regret as he thought about his mother. She had always been his anchor, believing in him when even he couldn't. The thought of her brought warmth to his heart, but it was quickly swallowed by the chill of despair. What good was it to dream of being a hero if he couldn't even manifest a quirk? He took a deep breath, closing his eyes, wrestling with the longing to turn around and walk away, to seek comfort in the one person who truly believed in him. Just as he made up his mind to leave, a whisper floated through his thoughts, "Fly, little bird, and soar the sky." In that fleeting moment, a spark ignited within him, and the gravity of his emotions shifted. Izuku felt a rush of adrenaline, a primal instinct urging him forward. Before he could overthink it, he leaped off the edge, the world falling away beneath him. As he plummeted, a wave of exhilaration surged through him, and he screamed part fear, part freedom. This was it. And then, just as he felt the finality of the ground rushing toward him, something miraculous happened. Wings burst forth from his back, unfurling with a powerful force that caught the wind. In an instant, he was no longer falling, he was soaring. The air filled with the sound of flapping wings, and Izuku felt alive for the first time, the sky opening up before him like a vast, welcoming embrace. He glided through the air, the weight of his doubts lifted, replaced by a rush of clarity and purpose. I can be a hero, he thought, a grin spreading across his face as he took in the breathtaking view from above. I will be a hero. Hawks perched on a rooftop overlooking a quiet alley in Mizurufu, his eyes scanning the streets below. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the city. He'd been tailing All Might for days now, observing the former symbol of peace. His mission from the Hero Public Commission had been straightforward: keep an eye on All Might and report on his activities. But this day had turned chaotic in an instant. The sludge villain had emerged, a chaotic mess of goo that threatened the citizens. Hawks watched as All Might launched into action, the sheer force of his presence commanding respect and attention. The legendary hero fought fiercely, drawing the attention of the crowd around him. Hawks stayed above, using his controlled wings to maneuver through the air and keep an eye on the unfolding scene. He didn't intervene, instead, he watched, assessing the situation from a distance. The sludge villain proved elusive, slipping into a nearby sewer just as All Might pursued. The legendary hero fought fiercely, but the villain proved elusive, slipping into a nearby sewer just as All Might pursued. Frustration bubbled beneath Hawk's calm exterior. He needed a better vantage point to see where All Might would emerge. He soared up into the sky, the wind ruffling his feathers, searching for any sign of the hero. After what felt like an eternity, Hawks finally spotted All Might leaping through the sky, and his heart raced as he realized there was someone clinging to his leg. Who's that kid? Hawks thought, a mix of disbelief and concern flooding his thoughts. What is he doing up there? The two soared high above the streets, All Might's strength and resolve evident even in this unexpected predicament. As Hawks glided effortlessly in the air, he felt a twinge of admiration for the boy. As they landed on a nearby rooftop, Hawks carefully maneuvered himself into a position where he could listen in without being seen. He activated one of his controlled wings, allowing it to stretch discreetly closer to the pair. Listening intently, he heard Izuku's hopeful question about being a hero, followed by All Might's crushing response. Hawks felt a pang in his chest. He could see the disappointment wash over Izuku's face, a reflection of the struggles that many aspiring heroes faced. After All Might departed, leaving Izuku alone on the rooftop, Hawks felt a strong pull toward the boy. Should I go after All Might? Or stay and watch over the kid? He chose to remain hidden, sensing that something significant was about to unfold. As Izuku stood at the edge, lost in thought, Hawks held his breath. "Don't do it, kid." In that moment, Izuku seemed to awaken from his stupor. He stepped back, then without warning jumped off the rooftop. Hawk's heart raced as he instinctively prepared to dive after him, but he stopped, mesmerized as wings erupted from Izuku's back. The transformation was nothing short of breathtaking. The kid was flying. "Fly, little bird!" Hawk shouted, even though Izuku couldn't hear him. He couldn't help but smile, feeling a surge of pride for the boy. The moment was a revelation, and the promise of potential crackled in the air. As he watched Izuku struggle to navigate the skies, the weight of his earlier doubts seemed to lift. Hawks felt a surge of purpose. He'd helped this kid become a hero, not just any hero, but one who was free, untethered by the burdens of the past. With renewed determination, Hawks made his decision. He would train Izuku in secret, guiding him as he harnessed his newfound powers. This was the beginning of something extraordinary, and Hawks was more than ready to be a part of it. Izuku soared through the sky, the exhilaration of flight filling his senses as he reveled in the freedom that came with his newly discovered quirk. The city sprawled beneath him, a patchwork of buildings and streets, but his joy was short-lived. As he navigated through the air, a sudden realization struck him: he had no idea how to control his flight. Panic surged as he struggled to keep his balance, veering off course and darting toward a nearby alleyway. Just as he thought he might crash, a sharp whistle cut through the air, and a familiar figure swooped in beside him. With feathered wings that glimmered in the sunlight, Hawks glided effortlessly, his playful demeanor contrasting with the seriousness of the situation. "Hey there, little bird," he called out, flashing a confident grin. "Looks like you've got some impressive wings. But maybe you should practice flying a bit more before trying to do stunts." Izuku blinked, wide-eyed with awe as he steadied himself beside the hero. Hawks. Yep, that's me." Hawks said, adjusting his goggles as he effortlessly matched Izuku's altitude. "Nice to meet a fellow flyer. I've been keeping an eye on you since I saw you leap off that roof. Pretty gutsy move." "I thank you. I didn't know what I was doing," Izuku admitted, embarrassment flushing his cheeks. "I just wanted to. I thought I could fly." "And you can. But you might want to work on your landing, too," Hawks chuckled, his voice friendly and encouraging. "So, what's your quirk?" I don't have a name for it yet," Izuku stammered, glancing down at the streets below. "I only discovered it today. My mom and I just found out that I have a dormant quirk that was supposed to show eventually, but I didn't expect this." He gestured to his wings, still awestruck. Hawks nodded, his expression turning more serious. "It's not uncommon for quirks to manifest suddenly, especially with a lot of emotion behind it. You're lucky to have such a powerful ability. But it's also a huge responsibility." He paused, his tone shifting. "You need to learn how to control it. Flying is all about balance." "I want to be a hero," Izuku confessed, his determination shining through the uncertainty. "I want to help people, just like All Might." "I get that," Hawks replied, his gaze steady. "But being a hero isn't just about power, it's about how you use it. If you want to train, I can help you out. Keep it under wraps for now, though. We don't want the public to know about your quirk just yet." Izuku's heart raced at the prospect. "You'd help me?" "Of course. I see potential in you, kid," Hawks said with a wink. "But this is going to be a secret. Just promise me you'll put in the effort." "I promise." Izuku replied, a smile breaking across his face. For the first time in a while, hope bloomed in his chest. "All right, then," Hawks said, taking a step back. "Let's see what you can do. First lesson, practice landings." "Ready. Ready." Izuku shouted, the thrill of adventure washing over him as they began their training high above the city. Part 5. The morning after his quirk manifested, Izuku Midoriya woke up with a sense of exhilaration and determination. He couldn't shake off the feeling of soaring through the sky, the wind rushing past him as his wings extended wide. Despite the initial shock of their sudden retraction, the sensation of flight had left a profound mark on him. Today was the day he would begin his training with hawks. After school, Izuku stood at Dagobah Beach, a place notorious for its litter and debris. Hawks was already there, his casual demeanor contrasting with the chaotic environment. "Welcome to Dagobah Beach, kid. Not the prettiest place, but perfect for what we're about to do," Hawk said, gesturing at the heaps of trash scattered around the beach. "We're going to clean up this mess while getting you into shape. A hero's work isn't just about using their powers, it's also about being physically fit." Izuku nodded, a mix of excitement and nervousness coursing through him. "What do I need to do?" "Simple. Start picking up trash and carrying it to that rented pickup truck over there," Hawks instructed, pointing at the truck parked nearby. "The goal is to do this without relying on your quirk. You'll be doing this for 2 months, then the remaining 8 months will train your quirk, hand-to-hand combat and weapon usage." "Simple, right?" Izuku's face fell as he processed Hawks's words. "Wait, what? I thought we were training my quirk." His hands clenched in frustration, but a comedic pout formed on his face. "You mean I have to be a glorified trash collector for 2 months? This isn't exactly what I had in mind when I thought about training with the number 2 hero." Hawks chuckled, crossing his arms. "Hey, this is crucial for your hero training. You need to build up your strength. Plus, think of it this way, every piece of trash you pick up is one less piece of trash that's going to ruin someone's beach day." Izuku sighed dramatically, plopping down beside a large pile of garbage. "I'm going to be the most muscular garbage collector ever. I can see it now. Look, it's Izuku Midoriya, the hero who saves the world one piece of trash at a time." He flexed his arms, making exaggerated poses while imitating a dramatic hero. Hawks laughed, shaking his head. "I'm sure you'd make a great hero for cleaning up litter. But trust me, this is just the beginning. You'll thank me when you can lift a truck with your bare hands." "Yeah, right. At this rate, I'll just be known as Trash Hero, and I'll get my own special school for heroes who clean up." Izuku muttered, picking up a large piece of debris, a broken plastic chair, and trudging toward the truck. The weight strained his muscles, but he pushed through, motivated by the prospect of becoming a hero. As he worked, Hawks kept a close eye on him, occasionally offering tips on lifting techniques and posture. "Keep your back straight, Izuku. You want to lift with your legs, not your back," he called out, demonstrating with one of his own wings. Hours passed, and the sun hung low in the sky, casting golden light across the beach. Izuku's arms began to feel heavy, and sweat dripped from his brow, but he refused to give up. With each piece of trash he carried, he felt stronger, more capable. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Izuku dropped the last piece of trash into the truck and took a deep breath, exhaustion washing over him. "I didn't think cleaning up could be this hard," he exclaimed, wiping his forehead with the back of his hand. Hawks grinned, crossing his arms. "Welcome to the life of a hero. It's not all flashy powers and saving the day. You've got to build your endurance and strength. We'll be doing this every day after school." "But there's still so much trash left," Izuku said, glancing around at the remaining debris. Hawks shrugged. "We'll tackle it bit by bit. You'll get stronger each time. Now, for the next part of your training, I want you to do some physical activities every morning before school. Running, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever it takes to strengthen your body." Izuku knew from now then his days will not be the same. "I'll do it. I'll become strong enough to be a hero." "Good. Remember, you're not just training to control your quirk, you're training to be the best version of yourself. And that means putting in the work, even when it's tough," Hawks encouraged. With a smile spreading across his face, Izuku nodded. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders, but it felt right. As they finished cleaning up, he knew he was one step closer to achieving his dream of becoming a hero. Since starting his training at Dagobah Beach, Izuku's school life had taken on a new rhythm. While his classmates buzzed with excitement about their quirks and future hero aspirations, Izuku kept his head down, focusing on the goal he had set for himself. Each day, he endured the familiar taunts and laughter from his peers, especially from Katsuki, who seemed determined to remind him of his quirkless status. But this time, it was different. Instead of feeling dejected, Izuku felt a spark of determination igniting within him. His training with hawks had transformed him, both physically and mentally. As he cleaned the beach, he could feel his strength building. At school, he still experienced the occasional mockery, but he brushed it off. Just wait, he thought, clenching his fists. Once I show everyone what I've been working on, they'll see I'm not just some quirkless nobody. He daydreamed about you, envisioning himself walking through the gates and impressing his future classmates with his newfound abilities. The thought kept him going, even when the pressure felt overwhelming. As he settled into his routine, Izuku realized that each day brought him closer to his goal. Though his classmates couldn't see the hard work behind the scenes, he knew that, with perseverance and dedication, he would prove them all wrong. 2 months passed fairly quickly as Izuku carried trash around, and now he was ready to start the next phase of his training. Spreading his wings wide, he approached the nearest refrigerator, feeling the familiar surge of energy in his core. With a powerful flap, he pushed against the appliance, and to his delight, it lifted off the ground effortlessly. "This is so much easier now," he shouted, exhilarated by his newfound strength. He moved quickly, tossing the refrigerator into the rented pickup truck designated for disposal. As he continued, Izuku noticed the huge piles of trash diminishing, each successful lift boosting his confidence. After clearing a significant portion of the beach, he turned to tackle a particularly heavy washing machine. It was a piece he had struggled with before, but now, with his quirk fully manifesting, he felt ready for the challenge. "Here we go," he yelled, flapping his wings with determination. The washing machine lifted smoothly, and he tossed it into the truck with ease. Wings provide additional muscle and strength. You'll see that picking up trash is relatively easier than when you started. "You can carry things twice your weight now," Hawks chirped in. For the following 3 months, Izuku cleaned up half of the beach. Feeling pumped, Izuku scanned the remaining debris. That's when he noticed something unusual sticking out from the heaps of trash: a car, mostly buried in the sand. His heart raced at the sight. If he could free that car, it would be a massive victory. "What a mess," he muttered, stepping closer to inspect the situation. He could see the outline of the vehicle, half buried under a pile of junk. But how am I supposed to get that out? Izuku approached the car, excitement and trepidation mingling within him. "Okay, focus. I can do this." He spread his wings wide, channeling the energy he had come to rely on. He flapped his wings, envisioning the car lifting off the ground. He concentrated on the object before him, feeling the familiar sensation of his quirk awakening. At first, he tried to flap and pull the car out, but it remained stubbornly lodged in place. "Why won't it move?" he groaned, digging his hands into the sand. Just as despair began to creep in, he felt a new source of power within him. He focused on that new energy, extending it towards the car. As he did, he felt an exhilarating sensation, like a pulse of power connecting him to the vehicle. The car shifted slightly, and in a moment of disbelief, he realized he was moving it with sheer willpower. "I can't believe it!" Izuku exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder. "Is this telekinesis?" It looked just like his mom's but stronger. Hawks, watching from a distance, leaned in, intrigued. "I didn't know you could do that, little bird." He couldn't hide the excitement in his voice, knowing they were both witnessing the emergence of a new aspect of Izuku's quirk. With newfound confidence, Izuku focused harder. The car lifted higher, freeing itself from the sandy grip. "I'm really using it. This is incredible," he shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. "Keep going. Let's see how far you can take it." Hawks encouraged, feeling a surge of pride for his protégé. With one final push of his mental energy, Izuku lifted the car completely free from the trash, setting it down safely a few feet away. Panting from the exertion, he stared in disbelief at what he had just accomplished. "I did it. I really did it," he cheered, unable to contain his joy. "Yeah, you did. That's some powerful telekinesis," Hawks exclaimed, grinning widely. "This is a huge breakthrough for you. We're just scratching the surface of what you can do." With a heart full of determination, Izuku knew that this was just the beginning of his journey. He was ready to embrace every challenge that lay ahead on his path to becoming a hero. Discovering his telekinesis had been a monumental breakthrough, and Izuku was eager to develop his abilities further. Sitting on the sand, he reviewed the new training schedule that Hawks had put together for the next 4 months. "Alright, Izuku. We're going to step up our training now that you've unlocked your telekinesis," Hawks announced, grinning as he pulled out a clipboard. "Here's the plan: quirkless training, flying, telekinesis, hand-to-hand combat, and weapon usage." Izuku listened intently, his heart racing with excitement. "You've made great progress in building muscle, flying, and hand-to-hand combat. With the discovery of your new quirk, your progress is more impressive than I expected. Now, let's start practicing with a weapon of your choice." Hawks paused dramatically, raising an eyebrow. "As for me, I'm good with knives. I mostly use my wings like knives. But since you can't control your individual wings yet, we need to find a weapon that suits you." Izuku nodded, determined. "I'm ready." "Great. How about a staff?" Hawks suggested. "You can use it even when your wings are retracted. Plus, it'll give you a solid reach." "A staff sounds perfect," Izuku exclaimed, picturing himself wielding it like a true hero. "Now, we're also going to incorporate a wing shield using your telekinesis," Hawks continued. "This way, you can block incoming attacks. I want you to be able to dodge my controlled feathers while airborne." "Wait, you're going to throw feathers at me?" Izuku asked, wide-eyed. "What if I get hit?" Hawks smirked. "That's the point. Consider it a crash course in dodging. Just think of it as a game of dodgeball, but with feathers and slightly more danger." Izuku gulped, half excited and half nervous. "You really know how to motivate me, Hawks. Just remember, every time you get hit, I'll consider it a lesson learned." Hawks laughed, tossing a feather up into the air and sending it soaring toward Izuku. As Izuku practiced dodging, he realized he was learning to trust his instincts more. Each successful maneuver boosted his confidence, and the thrill of flight combined with the challenge of dodging Hawks's feathers made him feel alive. "Not bad, but let's see if you can avoid my feathers while in the air." Hawks challenged, launching a series of feathers with a flick of his wrist. "Here goes nothing," Izuku shouted, flapping his wings and taking to the sky. He quickly learned that the key was to anticipate Hawks's movements rather than react to them. After a few close calls and some near misses, Izuku laughed. "This is harder than I thought. Welcome to training, kid. Just think of me as your feathered nemesis." Hawks teased, chuckling as Izuku narrowly dodged another feather. With each passing day, Izuku not only improved his skills but also learned more about himself, his determination to rise above challenges, the power of teamwork, and the importance of laughter in the face of adversity. As he trained, he realized that each feather and every tumble was a step toward his dream of becoming a true hero. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over Dagobah Beach, Izuku Midoriya stood beside his mentor, Hawks, admiring their hard work. The beach sparkled under the fading sunlight, its transformation from a trash-laden wasteland to an appealing landscape nearly surreal. "Hey, Hawks. We really did it. The beach looks amazing," Izuku exclaimed, wiping sweat from his brow and taking in the breathtaking view. "Absolutely. You've come a long way, Izuku. I'm proud of you," Hawks replied, a satisfied grin plastered across his face. This place is almost unrecognizable. Just think, if we can clean up the beach, imagine what you can do at UA. Izuku nodded, feeling a surge of pride. I can't believe how much I've improved. But I still have something important to do before the entrance exams. Hawks raised an eyebrow. Oh. What's that? Izuku hesitated for a moment, his heart racing at the thought of sharing his secret. I need to tell my mom that my quirk has finally come in. Good call. She deserves to hear it from you, Hawks encouraged, giving him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Just make sure you don't make it sound too dramatic, or she might start asking you to wear a cape or something. Izuku chuckled, the nervousness still lingering in the back of his mind. Yeah, I'll try not to make it too over the top. With one last look at the pristine beach, he took a deep breath. It's time to come clean. After finishing their training, Izuku arrived home, his heart pounding with anticipation. He found his mother, Inko, in the kitchen, her hands busy preparing dinner. The comforting aroma of miso soup filled the air, wrapping him in a sense of warmth. Hey, Mom. Can I talk to you for a minute? He called out, his voice slightly shaky. Of course, sweetheart. Just a moment, she replied, turning to face him with a warm smile that made his heart swell. As she wiped her hands on a towel and walked over, Izuku took a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation. He knew she had been supportive of his efforts to prepare for the entrance exams, but he also felt guilty for keeping his quirk a secret for so long. I've been training really hard for the entrance exams, he began, nervously fiddling with his hands. And I have something important to share. Inko's eyes sparkled with curiosity. You have. You've been training hard for the past few months. Did something good happen? Izuku hesitated, feeling the weight of his decision. How do I even start? Well, I've been keeping something from you. I discovered that my quirk has finally emerged. Inko's expression shifted to one of concern, and she stepped closer. What do you mean? You mean you have your quirk now? Yeah, I have retractable wings, Mom. And I can use telekinesis just like you, he blurted out, the words rushing out before he could second-guess himself. Her eyes widened in surprise, a mixture of pride and disbelief washing over her. I'm so happy for you, honey. I knew you were training hard, but this is incredible. I thought you were just trying to get in shape for the exams. Izuku felt the nervousness fade away, replaced by excitement. I wanted to wait until I was ready to tell you everything. I've been working with a pro hero who saw me cleaning up the beach. He's been helping me train my body and my quirks. Inko's face softened with understanding. Oh, that explained the coming home later than usual and the change in meal plans. Yeah, well, I guess I kind of kept it all a secret to surprise you. I didn't want to worry you while I figured everything out, Izuku admitted, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. His mother enveloped him in a warm hug, and Izuku felt the tension melt away. You will never disappoint me, Izuku. You've always had the heart of a hero. I believe in you. As they pulled away, Izuku felt a surge of happiness. He had finally shared this significant part of his life, and the relief was palpable. Just promise me one thing, she added, raising a finger playfully. You be safe, Izuku laughed, his earlier nerves dissipating. I promise, Mom. With that, Izuku felt ready to focus on the entrance exams with his head held high, supported by his mother's unwavering belief in him. On the morning of the UA entrance exams, Izuku stood outside the towering UA high building, a sense of awe swelling within him. The massive structure gleamed in the morning sun, a symbol of hope and strength for every aspiring hero, including himself. He'd worked so hard to get here, and today was finally the day. With a deep breath, Izuku whispered to himself, this is it. I'm finally here. He steeled his nerves, feeling the gentle tug of determination that had kept him going through all those long days of training. I'm going to do my best, no, better than my best. He stepped inside, following the flow of students who were also here to take the exams, each wearing expressions that ranged from anxious to overly confident. As he made his way to the exam hall, he double-checked his exam ticket and followed the row numbers, scanning for his designated seat. Finally, he spotted his row only to notice that his assigned seat was right next to none other than Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku's breath caught for a moment. He and Bakugo hadn't spoken since their last confrontation, and the idea of sitting right next to him felt awkward, to say the least. Bakugo hadn't noticed him yet, his gaze fixed ahead, a fierce determination evident in his eyes. "Okay, just stay calm, Izuku," he reminded himself, sliding into his seat and trying not to attract Bakugo's attention. He settled in, hands clasped together, tapping his fingers to keep his mind steady. Around him, students continued to file into the hall, chattering nervously or exchanging determined glances, waiting for the proctor to start the exams. His heart raced, excitement and nerves colliding in his chest. He was here, surrounded by so many talented individuals who shared his dream. This is where my journey truly begins. Present Mike stood at the front of the exam hall, his voice booming across the room, filling every corner with an energy that could wake even the sleepiest of students. "Alright, listen up, everyone," he announced, grinning from ear to ear. "No cheating, no talking, and absolutely no funny business during the exam. This is the real deal, so I expect you to give it everything you've got. You've got 3 hours go plus ultra." The students exchanged determined glances, steeling themselves as the papers were handed out. Izuku took a deep breath, the intensity of the hall heightening his focus. "Here we go," he thought, scanning the questions with confidence. He might not have been the top dog in middle school, but he was consistently in the top 5, and his long hours of study had prepared him well. Page after page, he answered quickly and thoughtfully, recalling his preparation and the countless notes he'd made. He felt good about it. He could do this. 3 hours flew by, and soon, Present Mick's voice once again cut through the silence. "Time's up. Pencils down." Izuku sighed in relief, stretching his fingers after writing furiously for hours. He felt confident he'd given it his best, and the questions were challenging but not impossible. But he barely had time to relax before Present Mike continued with his announcement. "You've got a 30-minute break before the practical portion. Head to the cafeteria if you're hungry, change into your gym clothes, and get ready to show what you're made of." Izuku grinned, the excitement building in his chest. He joined the crowd heading toward the cafeteria, where he quickly grabbed a light meal to refuel for what lay ahead. After a quick bite, he made his way to the locker rooms to change. The buzz in the air was undeniable, he could feel the anticipation from everyone around him as they slipped out of their school uniforms and into gym clothes. It was time to show what they could do. "This is my chance," he thought, lacing up his sneakers with renewed determination. The students shuffled back into the hall, energy buzzing around them, as Present Mike took the stage again, ready to explain the practical exam. He grinned, microphone in hand, looking every bit the pro hero that Izuku had admired for years. "Welcome back, future heroes," he boomed. "For this next part, you're going to be testing your skills against some opponents. You'll be going up against robots. Each one is worth a different amount of points, depending on how tough it is." He held up 3 fingers. "There are 3 main types, the 1-pointer, the 2-pointer, and the 3-pointer. Each one's got different strengths, so watch out and strategize well." Before he could finish, a tall, muscular boy with glasses stood up, raising his hand high in a sharp, determined manner. Without waiting to be called on, he interjected, "Excuse me, sir. The handout mentions a 4th type of robot, yet you haven't explained it. If this is an oversight, it is unbecoming of a school with such high standards as you, eh? We, as examinees, deserve complete information." The hall went silent, with a few students casting surprised glances at the bold student. Present Mike blinked, a bit surprised by the interruption, but quickly chuckled. "Ah, right. You've got a keen eye there," he said, clearly amused. "The 4th type is called the 0-pointer. Now, listen closely. This one's a big obstacle literally. It's worth 0 points, so if you see it, don't waste your time trying to take it down. It's only there to get in your way, so avoid it if you can. The students murmured amongst themselves, a mixture of curiosity and nervousness filling the room. Izuku thought carefully about the 0-pointer. It's just an obstacle, but they wouldn't put it there without a reason. Present Mike clapped his hands. Alright, heroes in the making, now you know what you're up against. Get ready, give it your best, and show us what you're made of. They gathered outside the large metal gates, which blocked off the mock city that would serve as their battleground. Izuku felt his heart hammering with a mix of excitement and nerves. This was at the start of his path toward becoming a hero. He flexed his wings subtly, ensuring they were ready. The moment the gates opened, Izuku didn't hesitate. He spread his wings wide, launching himself into the air and soaring over the streets below. The rush of wind against his face heightened his focus as he began scanning the city for targets, eager to make the most of his abilities. Present Mick's voice boomed over the loudspeaker, breaking the other students' momentary shock. What are you all waiting for? Go. There are no countdowns in real battles. Izuku grinned to himself, glad he'd trusted his instincts to take the lead. Izuku flew over the mock city, his sharp eyes scanning for target robots scattered across the streets and alleyways below. Spotting a 1-pointer, he angled his descent, pushing forward with a burst of speed, and focused his telekinesis to shove it hard against a nearby wall, disabling it in one move. One down, he thought, feeling his confidence grow. Before long, Izuku was moving like a well-oiled machine. He swooped down over clusters of 2- and 3-pointer robots, sending out a precise telekinetic blast to push one into another. The impact sent sparks flying as both robots toppled over, deactivated. Yes, he muttered, looking up in time to see a few other participants catching up on the ground below. But he had the advantage of height and maneuverability. Spying another 3-pointer rolling toward a nearby alley, Izuku landed directly in its path and vaulted into a powerful kick, using his telekinesis to boost the force. The robot shattered on impact, adding even more points to his growing tally. Each takedown fueled his resolve, and he moved with increasing speed and strategy. As he swept over the city, however, he noticed a participant struggling with a 2-pointer closing in on them, its mechanical limbs swinging dangerously. Izuku dived down, aiming a telekinetic push at the robot's arm, which knocked it back just enough to give the examinee time to get away. "You okay?" he called, hovering above as the other student gave a grateful nod before sprinting off. Further along, he spotted another participant, a girl, about to score her first points until a 3-pointer loomed up behind her, ready to strike. Reacting instinctively, Izuku propelled himself forward and shot a telekinetic blast to shove the robot's arm away. "Behind you," he warned as she turned around, startled but grateful. "Thanks," she shouted. "No problem. Just keep an eye out." Izuku smiled before taking to the skies once more. Soon, he came across a small group of students cornered by 2-pointers and a 3-pointer. They were backed up against a wall, looking exhausted. Izuku swooped down, sending a piece of debris spinning through the air to knock 2 of the robots off balance. With a few quick strikes, he deactivated them and cleared a path. "Go," he urged, watching as they dashed away with relieved expressions. While racking up his own points, Izuku couldn't ignore those around him in trouble. For him, this test was about more than just numbers. It was about showing he had what it took to be a true hero. In the observation booth above the mock city, a group of pro-heroes, including All Might, Principal Nizu, and the other faculty, watched the students tackle the practical exam with growing interest. Monitors displayed different angles of the mock city, showing students strategizing and taking down the robots in their designated areas. "Look at that one," Aizawa said, nodding toward a screen where Izuku was darting through the air with a clear sense of purpose. "He's using his wings to gain a serious speed advantage." "Indeed," Nizu commented, his eyes twinkling as he observed. "Flying gives him a vantage point others lack. And his quirk, telekinesis, seems well honed. He's knocking down multiple robots at once with precision. All Might leaned forward, watching Izuku intently. That boy, there's a fierce drive in him, he murmured, admiration clear in his voice. He's not just taking down robots, he's moving with focus and strategy. Look how he's targeting the points-heavy three-pointers without hesitation. As he continued to observe, a faint sense of familiarity washed over him, lingering at the edges of his mind. Why does he seem so familiar? He wondered. All Might studied the boy's determined eyes, the sharp focus in every move, and the passion in his expression. Have we met somewhere before? The thought gnawed at him, but he couldn't quite place it. Perhaps it was simply a resemblance to another fan, or maybe the boy had crossed his path once in a crowd. But the nagging sense of recognition wouldn't leave him. Present Mike chuckled, leaning back with his usual enthusiasm. I gotta say, All Might, it's exciting to see someone who can think on their feet like that. He's going after points, but he's doing it smartly, using the environment and his telekinesis to maximum effect. Recovery Girl nodded approvingly. He must have put in some serious training. He's not just skilled, he's prepared. His tactical approach to each area is interesting as well, Mizu added. He's taking advantage of every angle and opportunity, flying high, taking down robots without delay, and clearing clusters when he can. All Might smiled, unable to contain his pride as he watched Izuku's unrelenting focus. It's as if he's built himself up for this moment. The heart of a hero is clear in his every action. If he keeps this up, he'll rank quite well. As the screens lit up with every takedown and points update, the teachers continued to watch with anticipation, knowing they were seeing the makings of someone with immense potential. The exam was nearing its end, and robots were becoming scarce as examinees had either destroyed or evaded most of them. Izuku took a quick scan of the mock city below, his sharp eyes searching for any remaining targets. Just as he was about to dive toward another point-scoring opportunity, the ground began to shake violently, and the sound of crumbling metal and concrete filled the air. The city itself seemed to be trembling. Izuku's gaze snapped upward, and his heart skipped a beat. A humongous robot loomed over the buildings, casting a massive shadow over the city streets. The zero-pointer, a towering metal giant that dwarfed every structure around it. Where was that thing hiding? He muttered, eyes wide in awe and fear. Around him, examinees began to scream, their instincts kicking in as they scattered, sprinting in the opposite direction. Panic rippled through the students as they scrambled to escape. Izuku felt the urge to join them, his instincts telling him to fly straight for the entrance gates and away from the monstrous machine. But just as he began to turn, he heard a faint voice rise above the din, breaking through the chaos. Help! Somebody, please help! Izuku's head whipped around, his eyes searching frantically. Izuku's eyes locked onto a girl with short brown hair pinned under rubble, fear playing on her face as the colossal zero-pointer loomed closer. She was clearly trapped, her legs pinned beneath the heavy chunks of debris, and with each step of the massive robot, the ground quaked. Izuku glanced around, heart pounding, but the other examinees were too busy fleeing, none noticing the girl's distress. 2 minutes remaining. Present Mick's voice blared, echoing throughout the city. The countdown was ticking. Izuku's muscles were burning from the strain of the exam, and fatigue was setting in. He was low on stamina, his wings aching from all the flying and his telekinesis nearly drained from continuous use. But seeing the robot's gigantic foot looming closer and the girl's desperate look steeled his resolve. He couldn't leave her to face this alone. Taking a deep breath, he dove toward her. He focused, stretching out his hand as he used his telekinesis to shift the rubble off her legs, lifting each piece away carefully despite the trembling ground and advancing threat of the zero-pointer. The girl winced, but Izuku freed her legs just as the monstrous machine took another thunderous step, now only a foot away from them. Come on. Get up, we have to move. Izuku urged, but his mind raced with worry. Even if he managed to get her airborne, the zero-pointer could easily swipe them down mid-flight, or worse, hurt others still nearby. Determination hardened his gaze. Izuku released her and, gathering every ounce of strength he had, rocketed toward the enormous machine, his wings beating powerfully as he closed the distance. He extended his arms and unleashed a massive push with his telekinesis, feeling the strain of moving something so colossal. His muscles trembled, and a splitting headache pulsed as he forced the massive robot backward, shoving it just far enough away from the other students and the girl he had saved. He landed back beside her, retracting his wings to save his strength. His chest heaved, utterly exhausted, but as he glanced back at her, a sense of relief washed over him. And then, present mix announcement rang out. Time's up. The practical exam is officially over. Izuku slumped down, his adrenaline fading, grateful he'd managed to protect her and that the ordeal had finally ended. As the dust settled, Izuku looked down at the girl he had just saved, offering a warm smile. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. The girl nodded, wincing as she tried to sit up. "Yeah, I think I just sprained my ankle," she said, rubbing her leg. Then she looked back at him, curiosity lighting up her face. "Are you okay?" That was intense. "And your wings? Where did they go?" "Oh, they retract," Izuku explained, chuckling a little despite his exhaustion. "I can use them when I need them and tuck them away to save energy. I also have telekinesis, so I can push things away, but that's really exhausting too." He was catching his breath, still processing how close they'd come to real danger, but felt a little lighter sharing this part of himself. "That's so cool." She smiled, her face lighting up with genuine excitement. "Oh, my quirk is zero gravity. I can make things weightless just by touching them, but I guess I was too worn out to even think about using it on the rubble." Just then, Recovery Girl arrived, her eyes sweeping the area for injuries. She quickly noticed the girl's ankle and bent down, giving it a soft kiss. Instantly, the girl's face relaxed as her ankle began to heal. Recovery Girl turned to Izuku next, her eyes sharp and experienced. "And what about you, young man? Any injuries?" Izuku shook his head, his body feeling heavier with each passing second. "No injuries, ma'am. I'm just really, really exhausted." With a warm chuckle, she handed him a small packet of gummies. "Eat up, then. These will help restore some of your energy." Gratefully, Izuku popped one into his mouth, the sweetness bringing a bit of life back into him. Turning back to the girl, he extended a hand. "By the way, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Thanks for, letting me practice some hero work." The girl laughed, shaking his hand warmly. "I'm Ochako Uraraka. Thanks for saving me, and the hero work was pretty impressive." They exchanged phone numbers, both of them tired but smiling, glad for the connection they'd made. As Izuku headed home after the exams, he felt his heart swell with excitement. He'd not only given his all today, but he'd also made a new friend, and the dream of becoming a hero felt a little closer. The teachers leaned forward as the zero-pointer closed in on Izuku and the girl trapped beneath the rubble. The hulking machine towered over them, its massive frame casting a dark, imposing shadow that made even the seasoned heroes tense up. "Should we stop it?" Midnight asked urgently, glancing at Nizu. "That robot's far too close, it could crush them both in an instant." "I agree," Cementos added. "At this distance, it's too dangerous to leave it unchecked. They don't stand a chance." Nizu raised a paw, a small but confident smile playing on his face. "Let's give him a moment. I think something interesting is about to happen." The teachers exchanged doubtful glances but held back, trusting Nizu's judgment even as the zero-pointer loomed perilously close. In the observation booth, they watched the green-haired boy grit his teeth, steeling himself as he spread his wings wide, their span catching everyone's attention. Izuku took to the air, hovering close to the zero-pointer. Summoning every ounce of strength left, he extended his hands and released a focused burst of telekinetic force. The energy collided with the zero-pointer, its wheels grinding against the ground as it was pushed back, just far enough for him and the girl to escape. He's actually doing it. Present Mick's voice was almost a whisper, filled with awe. With one final surge, Izuku managed to repel the zero-pointer, creating a safe space. His wings folded as he landed near the girl, who thanked him with teary relief. Izuku, visibly exhausted, retracted his wings, catching his breath. In the observation room, a hush fell, broken only by a few stunned murmurs. All Might blinked, genuinely surprised. His wings they can retract. Nizu's chuckle drew everyone's attention, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. A fascinating young man, wouldn't you say? Aizawa nodded, crossing his arms thoughtfully. He didn't hesitate for a second. That's the kind of instinct we want to see in future heroes. That's the essence of a true hero, Nizu said, watching the screens as Izuku helped the girl to her feet. To stand firm when others might flee. I think we found someone very special. The teachers watched in thoughtful silence as the green-haired boy, wings now hidden, finished helping the girl. The image of his determined face and unwavering spirit lingered in their minds, marking him as a promising new force among future heroes. After the exams, Izuku was bursting with excitement, hardly able to contain himself as he headed home, eager to tell his mom everything. As soon as he stepped through the door, his face lit up, his enthusiasm filling the room. "Mom, the exams were amazing," he exclaimed, practically bouncing. "The written part was intense, but I think I did pretty well. And the practical. I fought so many robots. I saved a girl from the zero-pointer, too." He beamed, a proud smile spreading across his face. "And guess what? I made a new friend." Inko's eyes shone with pride as she listened to Izuku ramble. "Oh, Izuku, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I know you did good out there and you will continue doing so." She gave him a warm hug, her heart swelling with joy and pride. "You'll have to tell me everything, every single detail." The next day, still buzzing with excitement, Izuku met Hawks at Dagobah Beach. As soon as he saw his mentor, Izuku's words tumbled out in a rush. "Hawks, the exams were so intense. I managed to stay focused, and I scored points taking down robots, but then this giant zero-pointer appeared, and it was terrifying." He threw his hands up for emphasis, imitating the robot's towering size. "But there was this girl trapped under rubble, so I flew over to help her. It was close, but I managed to push the zero-pointer back just in time." Hawks chuckled, ruffling Izuku's hair with pride. "Slow down, little chickadee, I know you did great. Now we just have to wait for your results. You are going to take the hero course with a storm." They spent the next few hours flying around the city, weaving between buildings and navigating rooftops, careful to stay out of sight of people below. Hawks, with his experience, made it look easy, and Izuku felt more alive than ever, soaring through the sky, each beat of his wings a reminder of just how far he'd come. Izuku had been on edge for a full week, anxiously waiting for his exam results. He tried to keep busy, but every day felt like it stretched endlessly. Then, one morning, his mom burst into his room, clutching an envelope with U.A.S. emblem on it. "Izuku, it's here," she exclaimed, her excitement matching his. They both sat down, nervous yet thrilled, as Izuku carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a small metal disc, and when he set it down, a holographic image of All Might appeared. Izuku's eyes widened, his heart pounding as All Might spoke. "Congratulations, young Midoriya," boomed All Might's voice. "You did exceptionally well in the written exam, and your performance in the practical was splendid. You scored a solid 65 villain points." Izuku's grin grew, but then All Might continued, "But that's not the only thing we were looking at. You also earned a total of 60 rescue points for your efforts in helping other examinees, including your heroic rescue of a fellow student from the zero-pointer." Izuku's jaw dropped as All Might went on, "With a combined score that puts you at the top of your class, you've secured a place in the hero course, Class 1A. And one more thing, young Midoriya, I'll be teaching at you this year as the heroics instructor. Welcome to you, young hero." The projection flickered out, leaving Izuku speechless. He turned to his mom, who was already tearing up with pride. They hugged tightly, his mom whispering, "I'm so proud of you, Izuku." The house was filled with laughter and celebration as Inko cooked his favorite katsudon to celebrate his incredible achievement. After the celebration with his mom, Izuku decided to let his mentor know the big news. Picking up his phone, he quickly typed out a message to Hawks, excitement practically buzzing through his fingers. "Izuku, hey, Hawks. Just got my UA exam results. I passed. Got 65 villain points and 60 rescue points for saving some students from the zero-pointer, so I made it to Class 1A. A moment later, his phone vibrated with a reply from Hawks. "Hawks, hey, way to go, kid. Top points, too. I knew you had it in you. Those wings are really earning their keep. Just wait until you see what you throws at you next." Winking face Izuku, "Thanks, Hawks. I couldn't have done it without your training. Hawks, don't get sappy on me now, kid. Just keep flying high. Let me know when you're ready to hit the sky again. We'll need to keep you sharp if you want to outscore the rest of those first years." With a grin, Izuku felt an extra boost of confidence. Between his mom's pride and Hawks's encouragement, he knew he was ready for whatever UA had in store for him. As he lay in bed that night, Izuku couldn't help but smile, his heart swelling with excitement and hope for the future. The path to becoming a hero had begun, and he was ready for every step of the journey. At Aldera Junior High, Izuku and Bakugo were summoned to the principal's office. The principal greeted them with a warm smile, congratulating them both on passing UA's entrance exams. While Bakugo accepted the praise with his usual confident smirk, Izuku merely smiled politely. He knew the principal's congratulations were mostly for Bakugo, but Izuku didn't mind. He was just glad to leave middle school behind and move on to something better. Later, on his way home, Izuku was yanked into an alleyway by an enraged Bakugo, who was practically seething. "How did you manage to pass the UA entrance exams, Deku?" Bakugo spat. "You're quirkless. I was supposed to be the only one from this pathetic school to make it into you." Izuku met Bakugo's furious glare, his heart racing, but for the first time, he felt a surge of confidence. He took a steadying breath and answered simply, "Same as you, Kaken. I took the entrance exams and passed." Bakugo stared at him, stunned, clearly not expecting Izuku to stand up for himself. With a calm determination, Izuku bumped Bakugo's shoulder as he walked past, leaving him speechless in the alley as he continued his way home. For the first time, Izuku felt the weight of Bakugo's words slip off his shoulders. He'd taken the first step towards a future he'd always dreamed of, and there was no going back. Izuku stood outside the door of Class 1A, heart pounding as he prepared to take his first step toward becoming a hero. From inside, he could hear raised voices, and when he pushed the door open, he spotted a familiar figure. The blue-haired boy with glasses from the entrance exam was arguing with none other than Bakugo. "Take your dirty legs off the desk. You're disrespecting our fellow classmates who have used this desk before," the glasses-wearing boy lectured, karate chopping the air with precise movements. Izuku couldn't help but wonder if the guy had some kind of robotic hand problem, given how rigidly he moved. "I can do what I want, glasses," Bakugo replied with his typical scowl, clearly unbothered. The blue-haired boy, unfazed, introduced himself formally. "I am Tenya Ida from Somei Junior High School." The two continued bickering, neither one backing down. As Izuku attempted to quietly make his way to his desk, hoping to avoid the confrontation, Ida spotted him. He immediately turned and addressed Izuku, still stiffly moving his hands with each word. "I see. You must be the boy who impressed us all with that bold strategy in the entrance exam," he declared, bowing. Izuku quickly replied with a slight nod, Yeah, and I just heard your name a moment ago." Just then, the familiar face of Ochako Uraraka entered the room, her eyes lighting up when she saw Izuku. "Oh, hey, Deku. You made it in," she said, waving cheerfully. Before they could get much further, a bright yellow caterpillar-looking thing appeared in the doorway, slowly inching its way into the classroom. The students' initial confusion turned into surprise as they realized it was a person wrapped snugly in a sleeping bag. The figure unzipped the bag, revealing a tired-looking man with messy hair. "Good morning, Class 1A. I'm Shota Aizawa. I'll be your homeroom teacher for the next 3 years." He spoke in a low, almost lazy tone, eyeing them with a calculating gaze. Aizawa handed out cases to each student, his expression as unreadable as ever. "Change into these and meet me outside the training grounds," he said simply, then left without another word. The students hurried to the lockers, finding that the cases contained gym uniforms. After changing, they rushed outside to join Aizawa, who waited with a clipboard and an impatient expression. "It took you 5 minutes to get here. We'll need to reduce that time." He scanned the students, as if assessing each one, then continued, "Today, we're doing a quirk apprehension test." Ochako raised her hand, hesitant. "But what about the entrance ceremony?" Aizawa's gaze shifted to her, his tone blunt. "We're here to train heroes, not for ceremonies. You have 3 years to learn everything about heroics, and that means no wasting time on non-essential activities." He continued, listing the events. "You'll be performing a series of physical tests, each one designed to measure your capabilities and assess your quirks. The tests will include the 50-meter dash, grip strength, standing long jump, repeated side steps, and the ball throw." Several students exchanged excited glances, murmuring about the challenges ahead. Aizawa wasn't done, however. "We'll also have a distance run, seated toe touch, and sit-ups. I expect you to put everything you have into each event." The students readied themselves, excitement and nerves mixing as they prepared to showcase their quirks for the first time in a formal setting. This was their first real step into hero training at Aizawa called Bakugo forward, his expression stoic. "Bakugo. How far could you throw a ball in middle school?" Bakugo shrugged. "Around 65 meters, he replied, hands already twitching with anticipation. Aizawa nodded toward a designated circle. "Now stand in that circle and throw the ball using your quirk. Do whatever you need to maximize the throw, just don't leave the circle." With a fierce grin, Bakugo took the ball, eyes gleaming as he felt the thrill of showing off. "Die!" he yelled, propelling the ball forward with a powerful explosion from his palm. It shot through the air, soaring far beyond where anyone expected, before finally landing. Aizawa held up the reading for all to see, 705 meters. "Whoa!" A girl with pink skin, hair, and horns jumped in excitement. "That looks so fun." Aizawa's expression darkened at her comment, instantly halting her enthusiasm. "Fun, huh? Well, here's a bit of reality for you." His gaze swept across the class, his tone turning cold and serious. "The last student in these tests will be expelled." Shocked murmurs broke out among the students, and some tried to argue, visibly shaken by the idea of expulsion on the first day. "Life is unfair," Aizawa continued, cutting off their protests. "If you want to be heroes, get used to it. This is a profession that requires you to go beyond your limits. If you don't take it seriously from the start, you have no place here." Izuku clenched his fists, absorbing Aizawa's words. They hit home with a harsh truth he knew too well, understanding that the path to being a hero wasn't easy or forgiving. The tests continued with each student showcasing their unique quirks and skills, adding some intense competition to the evaluations. 50-meter dash. The first test, the 50-meter dash, set the bar high with some impressive speeds. Tenya Ida sped forward with his engine legs, clocking in at 4 seconds. Shoto Todoroki glided on a path of ice, finishing in 17 seconds. Izuku Midoriya used his wings and telekinetic boosts, clocking in at 34 seconds. Grip strength brought out the powerhouse students. Mizo Shoji took first place, using his 6 muscular arms to reach a whopping 540 kilograms. Momo Yaoyorozu came close with 300 kilograms, thanks to her resourceful creation quirk. Izuku impressed the class by using his telekinesis to support his grip, reaching 240 kilograms. Standing long jump. The standing long jump showed off some quirky moves. Izuku used a telekinetic burst to help him cover the full sandbox as well. Repeated side steps. The repeated side steps required agility and fast movement. Minoru Mineta dominated, bouncing back and forth rapidly with the aid of his sticky, bouncy ball. Izuku kept up with steady bursts of telekinetic energy to keep his momentum, ranking high. Ball throw. For the ball throw, Bakugo's explosive toss had set a high bar with 705 meters. However, several other students made their mark. Achiko Uraraka threw the ball and, with her quirk, it soared out of sight, earning her an infinity result. Izuku used his telekinesis to control the ball's flight and pushed it forward as far as he could, reaching 800 meters, placing him second in this event. Final rankings. When Aizawa presented the rankings, the results were as follows: Momo Yaoyorozu Shoto Todoroki Izuku Midoriya Bakugo Katsuki Tenya Lida. Izuku was thrilled, both with his placement and with his control over his quirk during each test. The last place holder went to the invisible girl. By the end no one was expelled. It was a logical ruse to make you perform at your best, said Mr. Aizawa. However, as the results appeared, Bakugo could hardly contain his fury. He stormed toward Izuku, his fists crackling with explosions. "Where did you get a quirk, Deku?" he yelled, lunging forward. Before he could get any closer, Aizawa activated his erasure quirk, neutralizing Bakugo's explosions mid-air, then bound him tightly with his capture weapon. "That's enough, Bakugo," he said in a calm, cold voice. "There's no room for childish tantrums in my class." The class fell silent, taken aback by Aizawa's swift intervention. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief, grateful for his teacher's quick response. Aizawa's lesson was clear: there would be no tolerance for disruptions, and everyone would have to earn their place fairly. After the quirk apprehension test, the students returned to class, where Aizawa had wrapped himself in his sleeping bag, leaving them with some free time. They decided to go around the room introducing themselves and describing their quirks, eager to get to know one another. Each student went in turn by their seat number. When it was Katsuki Bakugo's turn, he stood with his usual scowl. Name's Katsuki Bakugo. Quirk, explosion. I'm gonna be the top hero, don't get in my way. He returned to his seat, issuing his challenge to the class, leaving most of the students in uncomfortable silence. Next was Izuku Midoriya. He took a deep breath, trying to shake off Bakugo's harsh attitude, and stepped forward confidently. "Hi, everyone. I'm Izuku Midoriya. My quirk is called Feather Force." He extended his green feathered wings, showing their full span before retracting them again. He continued, "My wings let me fly, and I also have telekinesis." One of the students raised a hand, asking, "So, about that Bakugo kind of made a scene earlier about you not having a quirk before. What was that about?" Izuku nodded, understanding the curiosity. "I was actually a late bloomer. I had a dormant quirk factor until about 10 months ago. When it finally activated, I had to train really hard to learn control. It's been a long process, and for personal reasons, I didn't tell anyone at my previous school when my quirk manifested." Hearing Izuku's explanation, several students looked at him with newfound respect, understanding the hard work he must have put in over the past several months. After his introduction, Achiko Uraraka gave him a friendly smile, while Tenya Ida offered him a respectful nod, admiring his determination. The introductions continued, but Izuku felt a bit lighter, realizing that, even with Bakugo's outburst, he'd managed to hold his own and gain acceptance from his new classmates. This was a fresh start, and he felt excited about the journey ahead at Class 1A students list by seat number. Yuga Aoyama, quirk, naval laser. Yuga explained, with a dramatic pose, that he could shoot a laser beam from his navel, though overuse would give him a stomach ache. Mina Ashido, quirk, acid. Mina cheerfully described how she could secrete and control acid from her skin, adjusting its solubility and corrosiveness. Tsuyu Azui, quirk, frog. Tsuyu introduced herself in her calm tone, explaining that her quirk gave her the abilities and characteristics of a frog. Tenya Ida, quirk, engine standing tall and serious. Ida explained that he had engine-like protrusions on his legs, allowing him to move at high speeds. Ochiko Uraraka, quirk, zero gravity with a friendly smile. Ochiko described her ability to make objects weightless by touching them, though she had to be careful not to overdo it. Mashireo Ojiro, quirk, Tail Ojiro, the stoic martial artist, explained that his quirk was his powerful, prehensile tail, which he used for combat. Denki Kaminari, quirk, electrification. Denki enthusiastically demonstrated his ability to generate electricity but mentioned he could short-circuit if he used too much. Eijiro Kirishima, quirk, hardening with a thumbs up. Kirishima explained his hardening quirk, which made his body incredibly tough and durable in battle. Koji Koda, quirk, Ani voice. In a quiet voice, Koda explained that he could communicate with and command animals through his quirk. Rikido Sato, quirk, sugar rush. Rikido explained that he gained super strength by consuming sugar, though it caused him to tire quickly once the effect wore off. Mizo Shoji, quirk, dupli arms. Shoji calmly described how he could replicate his limbs using his unique quirk, giving him extra arms, eyes, or ears. Kyoka Jiro, quirk, earphone jack. Kyoka showed off her earphone jacks extending from her earlobes, explaining that she could plug them into objects to channel sound waves. Hanta Siro, quirk, tape. Siro cheerfully explained how he could produce tape from his elbows, using it to swing or bind things. Fumikage Tokoyami, quirk, dark shadow. Tokoyami introduced his quirk as Dark Shadow, a sentient shadowy figure he could summon, though it was harder to control in the dark. Shoto Todoroki, quirk, half-cold half-hot. Todoroki spoke coolly about his dual-element quirk, with ice on his right side and fire on his left, though he mentioned he didn't use the fire side often. Toru Hagakure, quirk, invisibility. Toru's cheerful voice filled the room as she explained that her entire body was invisible, making her ideal for stealth. Katsuki Bakugo, quirk, explosion. Bakugo's introduction was as intense as his personality, explaining his quirk, explosion, which allowed him to create blasts from the sweat on his palms. Izuku Midoriya, quirk, feather force. Izuku spoke confidently, explaining his wings and telekinesis, which allowed him to fly and push or pull object with his telekinesis. Minoru Mineta, quirk, pop off. Mineta chuckled as he explained his unique quirk, which allowed him to pluck adhesive ball from his head, sticking to anything except himself. Momo Yayorozu, quirk, creation. Momo's introduction was graceful and informative, describing her ability to create objects from her body as long as she understood their molecular structure. After introductions were complete, the students had a better sense of each other's quirks, strengths, and personalities. On their second day at UA, Class 1A was buzzing with excitement as they waited for their first, Heroic Basics, lesson. The tension broke as soon as they heard loud, thunderous footsteps from the hallway. The door flew open, and in burst All Might, striking his usual pose and beaming smile. "I'm coming through the door like a normal person," he announced with a grin that left most of the students awestruck. The class gawked in amazement, except for Izuku, Shoto, and Bakugo, who, each in their own way, tried to keep their reactions cool. All Might, with his characteristic energy, introduced the day's lesson as a foundation for their hero journey. The exercise would take place at Ground Beta, and it would be their first step in real hero training. He then handed out briefcases to each student, announcing that their hero costumes were ready and urging them to change quickly. The anticipation grew as they donned their suits, each one customized to reflect their unique quirks and personalities. In their suits, they gathered in the observation booth, where All Might went over the exercise, a mock battle. The students would be paired into teams of 2, with one team assigned the role of heroes and the other as villains. The villain's task was to hide a bomb inside a building, while the heroes needed to locate and secure it by touching it or capturing the villains. Victory for the villains would be achieved by capturing the hero team or if the time ran out. Students immediately raised their hands, eager to choose their own partners. All Might, however, explained that teams will be chosen randomly by drawing lots. Ida voiced concerns about pairing, suggesting it might be better if they chose based on compatibility. Izuku chimed in, explaining, heroes sometimes have to work with people they don't know or usually wouldn't partner with. Part of being a hero is adapting and cooperating, no matter who you're with. With the groups chosen by lottery, All Might explained the remaining details, reading diligently from a small notepad as the students prepared mentally for their first true test in the path of heroism. Here is Izuku Hero Suite inspired by Pro Hero Hawks Team A, Heroes, Izuku Midoriya and Achiko Uraraka Team B, Villains, Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida Team C, Heroes, Shoto Todoroki and Momo Yaoyorozu Team D, Villains, Mina Ashido and Rikido Sato Team E, Heroes, Fumikichi Tokoyami and Tsuyu Azui Team F, Villains, Denki Kaminari and Kyoka Jiro Team G, Heroes, Eijiro Kirishima and Hantasiro Team H, Villains, Mizo Shoji and Minoru Mineta Team I, Heroes, Yuga Aoyama and Toru Hagakure Team J, Villains, Masahiro Ojiro and Koji Koda.